So we're going to get into it. Today we're going to be talking about knowing your worth, okay? Because you are the decider of that and nobody else. So let's get into the video. Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kadira. So glad to have you join me today. I know we are in the thick of winter arc, okay? And life has been up and down, as it is sometimes. I wanted to get into a topic of knowing our worth, knowing our value, knowing that we are the decider of our worth and our value. And I just wanted to talk about this because I had something come up a few months ago, several months ago at this point, and I was just having a casual conversation with two people that I'm really close to. And we usually always have conversations about different things. But we were talking about a specific demographic, one that I am a part of. And they were just talking, just talking. And then at some point it got a little bit offensive. I started to kind of retreat. I know I don't have everything together. My life is my own journey. But I was just listening to them talk and I'm like, damn, is this really how they see me? Is this really how they observe and look at me and perceive me? And when I went home, I reflected on that a little bit, and it did make me a little sad because I'm like, these are people that I care about. These are people that I love. And once again, I was reminded that you cannot control the narrative that somebody has of you. You cannot control anybody's perception of you. I went back home and I reflected because I'm the type of person where I kind of like to process things. I like to kind of reflect on things, like why something bothered me first and why I'm not reactive anymore like I used to be. Okay, I've done a lot of conscious changes and transformation to get me to a place where I'm not reactive, I'm a little bit more responsive. So I went back home and I reflected on, first of all, why the conversation bothered me in the first place. And then I kind of just reflected on, okay, how can I see this in a different perspective and different perception for myself? What I realized was it offended me, first of all, because I was a part of the demographic that they were talking about. And these are two people in my life who I'm close to, who I care about, who I love, who I enjoy being around for the most part when I am around them. When I'm in the space where I can look at the situation as the cup half full and change my perception for myself so that I don't feel down about it, so I can move on with my life. And I was like, okay, how can I look at this situation differently? I shifted my perception, which I like to do. I think it's really important to do. There's something that Sadhguru, who I love, always says, that perception is far more important than expression. And I've never been super big on expression. Sometimes people may say, that that's not good. Like, you should talk things out. And I think that is true to a certain extent. I just don't think that everything has to be discussed or talked about. So I tend to lean more towards shifting my perception about something so that I can have a greater outlook on it, and so that I can move on and continue to enjoy my life and continue to feel good, or get to a place of feeling good. So I took a back seat and I was thinking, okay, well, how can I look at this conversation as the glass half full, right? Because to me, that's solution based. And don't get me wrong, I don't always do that. I try to do my best. I don't always do that. But I realized that, okay, what they were saying made me feel like I wasn't good enough. It made me feel like I wasn't worthy of being perceived or looked at in a light to where the people that I care about saw me in a great way. I can't deny the fact that, of course, I wish that everybody who I interacted with and came across saw me in the best light, right? Or in the best way. But that's not always true, especially on a moment-to-moment basis. Like, one moment you may be seen in the best light to somebody, the next moment you may be seen different to somebody. even if you care about them, even if you love them, and that happens with you, right? Like sometimes you may see somebody in a great light. Sometimes you may see them a little bit different. That's okay. Like we're humans. We're multifaceted. We have our days of being one way and being another. But, you know, I couldn't deny the fact in that moment that I felt like, you know, I wasn't being seen in the best light by two people that I love, that I care about, that, you know, as sometimes I don't see them in the best light, but that I'm also inspired by, you know, often. So it really got to me. And then I saw the cup half full by realizing that nobody gets to decide what I am worthy of, or I'm deserving of, or that I am good enough. I only decide that, right? I am the only one that can decide what I deserve and what I'm worthy of. Because the conversation was something similar to the fact that these people aren't doing this or don't have this together. And most of the time it was they were speaking on people in my demographic. I also felt like it was super uncouth for them to say that while I was sitting there, you know, and like kind of disregard how I felt. It was more so about being right and like getting their point across, which a lot of times we often do in general. That part of it made me like take a back seat to the conversation. I was just listening and I was just like, what the fuck? The conversation was affecting me even after it happened. So I was like, you know what? I had a conversation with my sister about it for a little bit. And then I also realized for myself that I am the only person that decides my worth. I'm the only person that can tell me what I have together or not. I'm the only person who decides my value and my worth, and whether I have something that somebody feels like I should have or not. I'm still worthy regardless. Regardless of what I have, regardless of what I do, regardless of what I don't do, I am worthy and only I can decide that. And to make it more clear and not just like, oh, just saying this to say this, you know, but at the end of the day, you are the decider of your worth. You are the one making the choice, right? Because at the end of the day, for instance, that example for me, I had to decide if I was going to be affected by a conversation that was not personally geared towards me, but was implied towards me to some extent. I had to decide if I was going to allow that to affect me and to decide whether I was worthy or whether I was doing something wrong or whether I was doing something right in my life. And I had to decide if I was going to let anybody tell me about my life. And in that moment, I really had to take a step back, because sometimes we get into the conversations like that all the time where we allow somebody else to decide for us how we should feel about what they just said. And just think about that for a minute. Sometimes we allow other people to decide how we should feel about what they just said. Like, let that simmer, because it wasn't affecting me badly, but it was something that was bothering me and I didn't understand why. And I was like, why is this bothering me? Like, they say stuff like this all the time, or maybe not all the time, but they say things very similar to these conversations all the time. Why is this bothering me? Right? And of course it was like I was sitting right there and it was about a demographic that I'm a part of. So of course, right? Naturally. But I also know that I get to decide my experience and I get to decide how I feel. So in that moment, I took a step back, and later when I reflected, I did realize that I am making a choice to allow what they said to affect me or not. And that can take a hit to how I feel about myself, right? And my self-esteem. And never in life anymore will I allow somebody else to decide how I should feel about me. And I also thought about the fact that like I make my choices every single day. Like I am deciding how I should feel about something every single moment, every single day. And it doesn't even have to allow me to see them in a different light. Even though it could, at the same time, I still care about them. I still love them. But it just shows me, damn, like maybe this is how they see me. But it's also like, who cares? I could never change how they perceive me or anybody else. Like, we could never decide for somebody else how they should view us, how they perceive us, how they see us. But at the end of the day, what it comes down to is I decide my worth, I decide my value, I decide if I am going to allow myself to be affected by what somebody else told me, and if I'm going to also perceive myself in that light. And I had to flip the thoughts, because then there's like intrusive thoughts that come about, right? And it's like ultimately I don't feel that way about myself that they were saying. Like, yes, a few people might have perceived me in that way or said those things about me, and I might have thought it was true at some point in my life, but it's not true anymore. And I realized that I am the only one deciding my worth and my value too, because I am the one making choices for me, how I feel, what thoughts I'm going to believe, like how I'm showing up in my life, like how am I moving my body, how I'm utilizing my energy on this planet, like how I am living my life is my choice. So how I decide whether or not I am worthy, that is on me. That is me making the choice. For example, right? Growing up, I dealt with a lot of like self-image issues. Because growing up, I was chubbier than kids my age. So I would get a lot of backlash about my weight, especially from people that I was closest to. Growing up, that affected me so much. What other people said about me affected me so much, which is one of the reasons why I've put so much into choosing and deciding how I am and how I see myself for myself. From being a young child, being impressionable, right? That wasn't my fault that I internalized what people said about me. I was a child. Like, I don't have the capacity to think on a level where I'm like, or the child that I was, at least, I didn't have the capacity to decide that, like, no, what these people are saying are wrong. So that affected me growing up because I internalized what other people said about me. I let other people decide my worth and my value and my enoughness and who I was, right? But as an adult, and realizing that, no, like people are still going to say what they're going to say regardless, right? But now I have the headspace and the consciousness to decide that like, nope, these people are wrong. And I don't care what it was a week ago. I don't care what it was a year ago. I don't care what it was yesterday. I still get to decide my worth and my value for myself. Nobody can ever decide that for me. And that's where I am now in the headspace as an adult. But before, when I was younger, it was different. I constantly, over and over and over and over again, even as a young adult, I decided that, everybody was determining my worth and value for me. I was not determining that for myself. And then I got to a point where I started to go a lot more inward and put a lot of more effort and energy in towards me and towards my self-concept and my self-perception, and realizing that, nope, I decide my worth and my value. I am the chooser of my life, and I am the director of my life every single moment of every single day. Like, some things may come up, some emotions, some thoughts, but ultimately I decide at the end of the day who I am and my worth, whether I'm worthy or not. I decide that. Nobody else can decide that, because that also shows up in each one of my choices every single day, of every single moment, of how I feel about myself, how I talk to myself. And I'd be damned if I let what somebody else thinks about me determine what I say and what I think about myself. just think like how many of us in this world have just the most simplest conversations, and people don't realize that what they are saying, because they want to be right, because they're trying to get their point across, because they may want to feel better, they affect you. And we don't even like realize how much we internalize what they say, and how much we go the next day pondering about what they said or being mad at them about what they said. Instead of doing that, I would say try to look at the cup half full for your benefit. Not to be mad at them, but to help you out. Because for me, that helped me to take a step back and be like, nope, I don't care what they say. Yes, I care about them. But at the end of the day, people are going to say what they're going to say, whether they love you or not. And at the end of the day, I'm the one moving through my life every single day. I'm the only one that has to deal with me every single moment of every single day. So how do I want to show up? How do I want to show up? There's this quote from this movie called Little Women with Winona Ryder. Not the like newer version one. This is like one that was filmed, I think, in the 90s. But me and my sister love this movie. But there was a quote that the younger sister said in that movie, and she said, "We're all gonna grow up one day. We might as well get what we want." And that quote has always stuck with me because, and I say that to say and to relate to this, is because life is gonna continue to move on. We're gonna continue to grow up, age, time is gonna continue to go. You know, the next day is gonna show up. You might as well feel good about yourself. You might as well decide that you're worthy. You might as well be the decider of that and not let anybody else do that for you. It might as well be your choice. This is your life. You're the one that has to deal with yourself at every single moment of every single day. What happens in here, what happens internally, should go your way, should be in your favor. No matter what anybody says to you. If you know that you're worthy, that is all that matters. Because if you know that you're worthy, that influences this choice that you make, that choice that you make, that choice that you make, that choice that you make. Just like if you decide that you're not worthy, that influences that choice that you make, that choice that you make, that choice that you make. So you might as well decide for yourself that you are worthy. Because people are going to say whatever they're going to say. They're going to feel however they're going to feel. They're going to observe you and perceive you in whatever way they are going to perceive you and observe you. And guess what? That is okay. Yes, sometimes it may not be fair, but at the end of the day, at least be fair to you. At least be fair to you. You have to deal with yourself at every single moment. You are the only person that is guaranteed to live the rest of your life. Only you. So you might as well decide your worth for yourself. So thank you guys for joining me for today's conversation. I look forward to sitting down and talking with you more. I enjoy so many different things when it comes to self-growth, self-perception, when it comes to transformation, when it comes to just growing, overall self-care and well-being. So we'll get into some skincare stuff, some hair care stuff, some more talks, you know, maybe a little bit of mini vlogs. So stick around and let's have fun together. Comment down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I would love to hear you guys' stories of deciding your own worth, or how people kind of got you twisted and you had to have a little talk with yourself and be like, you know, this is who I am. So comment down below. Let me know. I would love for you guys to join this community. And don't forget to always take care of yourself. Life is but a dream that you manifest it slowly. So fuck the fantasy. It's your motherfucking moment.